Hello there, my name is Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. Welcome to my channel. Today we are on block number 8 of 10 for our Scrappy sampler. It is split 9 patch. I'll leave all the information about this block and the cutting guide in the description. For the center of the block, I've got one 4.5 inch square of the dark fabric, and I've got two 4.5 inch squares of the light fabric for two opposite corners. For my 6 half square triangles, I'm going to have 3 pieces measuring 5 by 5 of the dark fabric and 3 measuring 5 by 5 of the light fabric. And I'm going to be making 2 of these blocks. The first step is to take my 3 white 5 by 5 inch squares, and I'm going to draw a line diagonally from corner to corner across the square. If you were using a fabric that had a right side and a wrong side, make sure and draw your line on the wrong side of the fabric. Now we're going to place a dark fabric right sides together with our light fabric. I'm going to stitch about 1/4 inch away from the line on both sides of the line, and I do like to chain piece these, so I will chain all the ones I need and then flip all the units around and stitch down the opposite side. After they're stitched together, just cut on the line that you drew, and I'm going to press these squares open. These half square triangles need to be trimmed down to 4.5 inches. I'm using the diagonal line on my ruler, lining that up directly over my seam. I'm going to trim away the top and the right side of the square. Then I'm going to flip the unit around the opposite way and trim it to 4.5 inches, keeping that diagonal line on top of that seam. For 2 blocks, I need a dozen half square triangles. Okay, it's time to lay out the block. I've got my dark square in the center and my 2 white squares on opposite corners. I had to keep my book nearby so I could see which way these half square triangles are supposed to go. And since I'm making 2 blocks, I simply stacked the pieces for the second block just right on top of the first. To stitch these rows together, I start with the top left and the top middle pieces. I stitch the units together for both block 1 and block 2. Then I go to the second row and do those left and the middle piece together. Then the bottom row. When I'm done with that, I place those pieces that have been joined back where they came from. Then I go through these rows again and just add that third piece onto the right-hand side. Each row has 3 units. To join these rows together, I want to make sure the 2 seams on each row meet. So I'm using a clip, and I'm using the nesting technique where one seam goes one way, one seam goes the opposite way. That helps the seam nest together, and it makes it a little bit easier to stitch. I double checked the placement of that 3rd row. Then I also went ahead and clipped on that 3rd row. Then I stitched both seams to finish this block. This block is really cute and it's so easy. You can make a whole quilt out of this split 9 patch just by turning the blocks different ways. You would get different secondary patterns in a quilt. Very interesting. But for this project, I'm only making 2 of these blocks. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you back again real soon.